here we go.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Marvel Minute. I am Brandon, as always, joined by Trevitt. Trevitt, how we doing, man?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. And on Super Bowl Sunday, we're here to talk about Punisher Platoon number 5. I was lazy this week and just did a write-in vote. And despite Jim and Eric's best efforts to sabotage us with Star Wars DJ, whatever the fuck that is.
God, it's the Benicio del Toro character from The Last Jedi. I'm so glad that did not win. I was going to be so upset if that won.
I'm like, what is this? Star Wars DJ? Is there somebody that plays music in the Star Wars universe I don't fucking know about? Like, what's going on?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I had literally no idea what that book was. So I'm glad we ended up getting some last minute votes that pushed it in Punisher Platoon's favor, because I've been kind of looking for a reason to check this one out. Number 1 just missed out on winning a vote at one point. So here we are 4 issues later with number 5, with me jumping on to see what's going on. We got writer Garth Ennis, art team Goran Parloff and Jordi Belair, Marvel Comics production, of course. And this is a Punisher Max series. So you get some racist terms slung around here. You get some high violence, a little bit of everything in a Max series. So a Frank Castle Marvel Max series hasn't been done in a while. So Garth Ennis stepped to the helm and picked up a wartime setting featuring Frank in Vietnam leading a platoon of soldiers through a jungle mission where you just know shit's going to pop off. So let's take a peek at the series already in progress and see if it'll force us back for more. I'll start by saying I've not read any back issues and I have lots of questions. So it's going to take a quick minute. Give us a quick 1 minute rundown on the first 4 issues. I think I got the gist after I read this and then went back and read the, the previously on page in the series. Because when I read the previously on page and then read it, I had no idea really. It didn't help me much. And then going back to read it after I've read the issue gave me context to like who they were talking about, because all these names are just thrown around here. So why don't you fill all the newbies in on what's been going down in the first couple issues here?
That's a loaded question. So the main story, like why, if you've read this issue, you didn't read this issue, and you're wondering why the little Asian lady Li Kwang is chasing around Frank. In the first issue, he called in an airstrike to this village. So she kind of has a grudge against him because she was waiting in this village to pick off American soldiers. Now this village is supposed to have been patrolled by American soldiers and cleared. And Frank didn't want to take that chance. This is his first platoon, his first command. He just got out of officer school, and he's learning from his platoon. So they've been in the shit. He hasn't. He comes along, and he's willing to learn from their example. So they give him the skinny on what's going on with this village that's supposed to be patrolled, but it's really not being patrolled. And he calls in an airstrike. So all of her friends or fellow soldiers or the NVA soldiers get, destroyed in the blast. And now she has this grudge against Frank. She doesn't know exactly who he is, but she's been hunting him and, killing American soldiers for fun along the way. So this story, you get like a few different perspectives. You see it from the beginning, you see it from his surviving platoon members talking to a reporter named Michael Goodwin, who's writing a story, who was featured in a previous Punisher story by Garth Ennis, I think his last one for his Punisher Max run. And and then you also get the perspective from Frank in the platoon, and then you get the perspective of Li Kwang and Senior Colonel, oh God, what is his name? Letrong Giep. Letrong Giep.
So there. And then that's basically like where this one picks up, is Frank's just, pursuing this lead through the jungle. The platoon approaches this stream, swampy area, kind of this clear in the forestation, and it's just filled with dead bodies of fallen soldiers that kind of look like they're rotting and they've been there for a little bit. without anybody really. I don't know if the U.S. wasn't aware or just haven't gone in to rescue them, or if that's what Frank's here for.
They this see the most you get information about what's going on here is in this issue, because in the issue previously to this, they were on R&R, and where we left them, they were about to get into a fight with a troop of a battalion of Green Berets, but Frank came in and, like, stopped it from happening. And then we see a perspective from the NVA, and now here we are with this situation. So I think they just got left behind because it was too hot of an area.
Yeah. So yeah, there's like these rotting bodies in the stream that they're walking through, and Frank's trying to, he gives an order to one of the soldiers to get on the comms. Doesn't really tell him what to do. He just says, Moland, get on the horn. And then the one guy's like, we're going to have to body bag all these people. And Frank's like, the bags are on the slicks and they're going to be falling to pieces if we load them aboard. So I don't know if he's basically saying we can't worry about this right now or not.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, just because like they're rotting corpses, by the time we go get the bags and load them up, we're going to be dealing with body parts floating all over the place. Then we transition to, as Trevitt said, a few of these troops talking to this reporter. They're around a table just reminiscing, and they're kind of having this debate at this point of the validity of risking bodies to bring back dead bodies, and they're like, we've been debating this forever. Before we just transition back to the soldiers, the dude on the comms basically says his batteries are fucked. There's kind of been this scam going on with soldiers selling batteries to like the locals. And they've just been leaving the dead batteries laying around. So troops are being given these dead batteries out on patrol and having no way to get back to base. So they're really kind of in a shitty spot here. But at least what they think right now is that nobody knows they're in this area. Like they've snuck up on whatever they're sneaking up on. I don't know. The information is kind of sparse at this point as far as what they're doing here. But they don't know they're being watched, basically, to sum it all up, because that Chinese, or not that Chinese girl, that Vietnamese girl whose village he bombed is spying on them and knows their position. Did I say anything wrong there? I'm trying my best here.
That's pretty much what it is. They know they're in a hot spot, and they just don't want to press, because in Vietnam, in the bush, which you see previously in the series, like, you can't just go marching through the woods willy-nilly. Yeah, like you're gonna die.
Yeah, so they think they're at least not being watched right now, but the that Vietnamese girl, she does report back to this dude on a comm below her about their position, which goes to this, I don't know, this general dudes of sorts mulling over his next move in this bunker.
The goofy captain, he's the son of a general who he's the second in command of the colonel, the senior colonel.
So he basically has his questions about taking the information from this girl, but the person before him trusted her. So he's going to take her word and send a squad of troops out to this position the Frank's platoon is moving to. So the Frank's guys move forward, anticipating they still have the element of surprise. While the comms guy does say he one of the two batteries has a little bit of juice left in it, but he's going to have to get to a higher position to get this signal out. So he ends up pretty stupidly climbing a tree. He's trying to get word to either have them picked up, but what ends up happening is they're going to have to call in an artillery strike because suddenly mortars start pouring down on their position, hitting a few of the platoon soldiers and really fucking them up pretty good. The Vietnamese, really outnumbering Frank's squad, kind of start moving forward after these initial mortar strikes, and they see they're severely outnumbered. So he starts spreading them out to at least appear like their numbers are bigger than they really are, try to hold these guys back. So now we're in just this all-out firefight. people are getting fucked up left and right. The platoon basically decides their best course of action because they're being pushed back towards the stream they just crossed. And it's really going to slow down, any hope they have a retreat, and then they'll just be sitting ducks. So they get the idea to start sending them over in groups with the wounded first, while the rest of the guys kind of hold what position they can. As the issue progresses, they start slowly, retreating and retreating. More groups go over while fewer people are holding what spot they can. Does the guy in the tree end up getting fucked up? I lose track of him in this issue.
Well, yeah, I think he gets blown out of the tree with the motors going off.
Okay. That's my one beef is like, they're really hard to tell apart, like these different characters and stuff.
Yeah, he does. He gets blown out of the tree. It's on.
Yeah, there he is. I'm on the panel right now. I see him hitting the ground.
Yeah. A bunch of them get fucked up from those motors. So.
Yeah, so what we end up having here is kind of as the firefights concluding and the last group is moving back across the water. They kind of look to be in a safe spot, but they find out there's some people that are left behind and wounded. And Frank decides to do something about it. He basically hands over control of the platoon to the corporal as he goes back across like the halfway point of the water. He was basically at the halfway point. He goes trudging back to save the people that are left behind. As he approaches the shore and he gets, I don't know, looks like 10 or 15 feet in, this grenade comes flying in their direction. Right? That's a grenade thrown at them, not one they threw, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So this grenade comes flying at them that they try to dodge the explosion. And from what we can tell, it's enough of a distraction for this Vietnamese girl to kind of drop down and drop a knife into Frank's back while it looks like the other guy is dead. Looks like he's bleeding right from the middle of his chest. So Frank is in a bad position as this issue concludes with this chick looking like she's about to just accomplish her goal of killing Frank for destroying her village. Is what this all loops back around to. Is this a 6-issue mini or is it longer than that?
It's just a 6-issue mini. So the next issue.
So this was penultimate.
Yep.
This was the penultimate issue, and we'll get the conclusion next. I mean, it wasn't bad. I definitely had a lot of questions not reading the previous 4 issues about what was going on until I went back after I finished and, like I said, read that main page again and kind of picked out like, oh, this must be this person, this must be that person they're talking about.
So much more goes on in the past 4 issues of this book than I don't know, maybe any 4 issues of any book that I've read in a little while.
Yeah, that's
like so
one of my
layered story.
Yeah, one of my notes was kind of in the middle of this this outline I have here is that I jumped on here and Ennis isn't very kind to people who have just jumped on here in the penultimate issue of the final to the series. It's with a lot of points being touched on. I mean, it's also all mixed in together with very military-esque speak. Some of the words are like shortened and it's almost like when I'm reading it, it's like trying to understand magic talk almost. My head is really spinning. Like I'm not good with military lingo. I'm really bad at it,
I look some
but other than that, I mean, I really like the art. I had issues with some of the transitions, like some of the panels and the character work look a lot like the guys just look similar, but that's because they're also in military uniforms. So really the only clues you get to about who is like if the dude's not wearing sleeves under his vest or who has a helmet on, who doesn't have a helmet on, shit like that. And I've only read 1 issue, so I haven't really been following the clues to pick up on who's who. So I was a little confused, but overall, I think this is a borrow. And I think if I did read the previous 4 issues, it would probably nudge more towards buy. I mean, I definitely like the hardcore nature of the storytelling and the violence is, it's definitely wartime violence. I'm not usually a fan of war comics. I can't ever really say I've read an entire war comic series, but with a little touch of Punisher mixed in, I could see myself getting into it. But I'm going to leave it at borrow just because I was, the first time I read this issue, my head was spinning. I had no idea what was going on. The flashes to the guys sitting around the table talking really threw me for a loop, even though it was only like 2 or 3 pages of the entire comic. I was like, who are these guys? I know they're part of there's some soldiers in this group, but I can't pick out which ones they are. And
I can you'll get to know when you read the previous 4 issues. You'll be able to tell who's who, like just from from the flashback to now. I could pick them all out. Like the radio guy is at the table. Frank Sargent is at the table. There's 2 guys I don't know who they are, but 2 or 3 of the guys I know exactly who they are in the young scenes, in the Vietnam scenes.
Yeah, so I think I'm borrow territory. I don't know what's your overall opinion.
Oh, I love this book. I like what you said about the art, like because it is war and everybody has their helmets on, and if it's a white guy, they all kind of look the same. If it's a black guy, they look the same because they're all like camoed out. So everybody has to look a little different. Some guys have a short sleeve shirt with no t-shirt on. Some guys have a short sleeve shirt with the t-shirt on. Some guys just have like a vest on. But everybody looks a little bit different. So it gives you an opportunity to be able to like pick them out. You know what I mean? This way, not everybody's dressed exactly the same in their soldier garb or whatever. There's so many things I love about this book. It's it's so many 3 different perspectives. There are so many different things they cover. Where was I? Oh yeah. It's about Frank's first command. It's about him and his platoon and the missions they go on and the consequences thereof. You get the perspective from the NVA side of things with Lai Quang and senior the Colonel Letron Giap, who is heavily featured in this issue as he was in past issues. And in previous issues, they cover different things, like the battery thing, like people selling batteries to the Vietnamese. So when these soldiers are out,
that was crazy.
In the shit, they have nobody to call.
Going on here?
Yeah, and that's not the first time something like that's come up. Like in a previous issue, Frank and his platoon were collecting AK-47s because it was like a hot item amongst like the American soldiers, and they were selling it to the guy who resupplies platoons because the M16s were junk. They were garbage. Like they couldn't shoot through a tree. Like they were just no good. So Frank traded the AK-47s so he could have access to the M14. Because like if you're in the bush and you're shooting at the trees and your bullets aren't going to go through the trees where Vietnamese are hiding behind them, then what good are they? And there was a scene where they were testing out the M14 and this little Vietnamese guy is hiding behind this tree and Frank just shoots it and the bullet goes right through the tree and right through the guy's head and the fucking brains come spilling out. Like so many awesome things to this book. Like it's not just a story about him and his first platoon, but it's also about like the situation of Vietnam itself, and from multiple perspectives. You get it from the perspective of the here and now during Vietnam. You get it from the perspective of the NVA, and you get it from the perspective of like 20, 30 years later with a bunch of the survivors sitting around a table just telling their story. And I love the commentary. Like when you get used to it, you'll appreciate the commentary of like seeing what's going on while they're telling the story. And then when it flashes to the bar and they're just like, when that scene, when the radio guy, he's one of the guys at the table and he's saying how Frank just like, he was so inspiring. He just knew how to get that extra stuff out of you to be able to, he's like, before I wouldn't have even had the balls or cared to climb up that tree to make that call for that airstrike. But there was just something about him, that gave me the extra whatever to get up in that tree and do that. But yeah, it's a buy for me. I love this book. I love Goran Parlov's art, Jordi Belaire's colors, everything about it's great. I highly recommend it. If you read the previous issues to now, I think it would read way better because so much goes on, too much for me to cover in like a blurb.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a little more Marvel talk, Marble Mouth is what I have right now. But Marvel talk, if you're looking for more of that, you can find us at Marvel Madness Comics Podcast. Good God, I can't fucking talk right now. Marvel Madness Comics Podcast. You can find us there. We'll discuss the Jean Grey conclusion. So we got 2 books to discuss there. The Avengers last 2 issues, 2 books to discuss there. This will be there, and then we might touch a little bit on Ben Reilly as well. We'll see how much time I got and how much reading I can get done here.
All right, I gotta
But
get caught
yeah,
up on that.
yeah, that is the end of this section. So you know where to find us if you're looking for us, guys. But we'll be back next week. I'll do a good old-fashioned poll so Jim cannot sabotage me next week. And we will talk to you then. Peace out.
Peace.